You're listening to the Sports Cycle on 105.1 Live. I'm your host, Tim McCain. And again, I had to bring them back. I'm actually glad that they came back. High and tight. Appreciate y'all coming on the show with me. Yes, sir. Appreciate it. We got a lot of sports topics to talk about today, man. First things first, I want to congratulate the Los Angeles Clippers for the first time um, in their team history. They won a champ. They went to the Western Conference Finals. I do know that Lamont. He told me earlier. He said that he had picked them, and I said the Utah Jazz. There was no way the Utah Jazz is losing. I don't really recall, but I have to run it back. I guess I got to run it back, bro.
Listen to your show last week because I said it. And you was looking at me like you was dumbfounded because Kawhi got hurt. You was like, oh, they can't do it without Kawhi. And I was like, bro, they going to win these next two games.
They're going to win these next
Both
two
of
games.
them.
Man, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you the truth. The reason why I picked it was because
And I predicted the Bucks winning both of those games.
Okay, that's out. That's possible.
Because I'm pretty sure you thought the Nets were going to win.
Everybody thought. Wait. Everybody thought the Nets were going to win. Okay, and if KD hadn't have stepped on the line, that would have been a 3, and it would have won the game.
Right.
Kevin Durant is a bona fide superstar.
But
we're gonna talk about this one first. We talk about the Clippers first. All right. So, the Los Angeles Clippers. First off, the reason why I picked the Utah Jazz was because it was already a tough series with Kawhi, and then when Kawhi got hurt by Joe Ingles, who allegedly ran into him on purpose to get him injured. Allegedly, I'm gonna say allegedly. That to me was the series. I think I did say that. I think I said that was the series, and I was dead wrong. I did not know that there was a player, and I'm an ACC guy. I did not recognize that. You know what? During the playoffs, anybody can show up. Anybody can be that man, and that man
got to
happened
do it
be,
for one night.
That's right, and that man was Terrence Mann. 12 in the first quarter, 20 in the third. The man ended up scoring 39 points.
I was about to say he outscored the Jazz in the third quarter alone.
Yeah, yeah, he did. He was a boss. He was a boss. And then we saw the greatness of Reggie Jackson and Paul George, and
Reggie Jackson was going on.
Reggie Jackson was a monster.
Honestly, the whole fourth quarter, everybody was making all their shots.
As a team, because they singled one person out.
Donovan Mitchell.
No.
Oh, Paul
Rudy
George.
Gobert.
Yeah.
They was making Rudy Gobert look like a fool. Like, he was just sitting out there like, I'm about to go get this rebound, but I got to guard you at the same time.
Let me tell you something.
He was playing all angles of the floor.
He was playing so bad.
That's that small ball that...
I'm actually glad DeAndre Ayton's
to.
playing good, because the way that if you were to measure the center position by Rudy Gobert's performance, there wouldn't be a center position anymore. It would be extinct. And
the Clippers' tallest player that night was...
Zubac, right?
Yeah,
but
he was Zubac.
He's 7 feet.
Yeah.
But you know what?
He didn't play that night.
No, yeah.
He didn't play a good majority of that night. If you go back and look,
they did play small.
Small ball the entire game.
And Terrence Mann, Reggie Jackson. I mean, he was scoring. Reggie Jackson was scoring on Rudy Gobert within 5 feet. That's supposed to be Rudy Gobert's.
At will.
That's supposed to be his spot. That's supposed to be. I'm just blocking everybody's shot. He wasn't doing nothing.
Not if you got to guard him from the three.
That's true, but he couldn't even do it from the inside.
They got that switch. They got the switch at the top. Reggie Jackson downhill.
Bro, if
Rudy Gobert's not catching him.
If Reggie Jackson, no, I'm telling you, he literally went in his face and scored straight. Like, bro, you 7 feet. You the defensive player of the year. What are you doing, bro? I think, and I'm gonna talk about that later on. You guys might y'all might be shocked by what I'm about to say later on. But I'm just gonna say this. Shout out to the Los Angeles Clippers. Donovan Mitchell is not a passing guard. He's a scorer. He's a scorer. You know, he's not somebody who can get other people involved the same way that a Mike Conley could, that a lot of point guards could. And so even when he was the only player that was really scoring, because they can't really. He's not a facilitator. He can't be that guy. He's a two. He's like Allen Iverson to me. And the reason why I say that is he can be a two guard. He's not going to be a traditional one. Right. What are y'all thoughts on that? I think that Donovan Mitchell should be moved to potentially two. He is a two anyway. because Mike Conley's the original point guard. They gotta find somebody who facilitates that.
I was about to say, you seen how Mike Conley played this year?
Yeah, he got to be healthy.
It wasn't the best.
It was not
especially
the best.
when he was hurt, good majority of the year. So we're gonna throw that out. Even the games he played, it was terrible. It didn't look like a Mike Conley that we used to seeing when he played in Memphis.
Right. Absolutely.
They might need to try to find somebody like
somebody young.
Yeah, and then keep him
somebody
to come
young.
off the bench.
Ooh, let me tell you something. I got something for that later about the trade. Perfect trade.
About a trade?
A trade from Mike Collins. But basically, I also want to acknowledge the Milwaukee Bucks because I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think they could do it.
But me and Mark was having this conversation like, as far as I know what team was we comparing it to? I know we were saying like the Bucks had more chemistry compared to anybody else, just because like you don't know who's gonna go off that night. So you got Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, Giannis, like Brooke, PJ's.
Does
like
Brooke really go off like that though anymore?
I mean, he did what he had to do the last game. You know what I'm saying? Like them blocks and you know what I'm saying? Like
you can look down and look up and he'll have 20.
Okay,
on
that's fair.
On that
that's
team,
fair.
he will give you 20.
That's fair.
A pick and roll stretch 5 that can shoot the 3.
Look. He was on my team, the Lakers, back in the day when Lonzo. Look, I know that he can be a guy who's solid.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I just, looking at the team and then looking at the Nets, now granted, James Harden, he had the hamstring injury, but he was still somebody who was making a way, facilitating. Yeah. And to be honest with you, he's the greatest player in NBA history to draw fouls. I've never seen an NBA player who could shoot 1 for 15 and score 30 points because of free throws, because he's faking people out in the playoffs. I've never seen it. So I got to give out a shout out to James Harden for that.
I give a close second to Chris Paul. Chris Paul does that a lot.
No, that's true. But
Andy Wade.
But I feel like there's a difference though between like James Harden and Chris Paul. You see, Chris has a lot to prove, but James he's got a lot more to prove than Chris Paul. Everybody knows that Chris Paul is that guy. He's never been an opportunity where he could have been in a position to win. James Harden,
I mean, he was.
Well, with the Houston,
right?
Even
before that,
I feel like other than
injured, bro.
No, I feel like other than
OKC,
other than like New Orleans, like
OKC wasn't a real that's not like a real place where he could actually win a championship.
Other than New Orleans, think about it. Other than New Orleans is the only time he could. Is the only time I felt like he had the pieces. Like he got the I said other than New Orleans, like further like the OKC. Rockets, Clippers, he had the pieces. It's just they never connected.
Always had the pieces.
They never connected.
Always had the pieces.
He always had the pieces.
But to me, I look at it more so of like, they were great players, but they really weren't built for the playoffs. Those Clippers teams were not. They were built for just
regular
like
season.
They were built for regular season. They had Lob City.
Lob City.
They
were,
DeAndre. It's like,
but I mean, you still
you
got
Jamal Crawford.
Look, he's nice, but look. We all know Jamal Murray.
Matt Barnes.
Jamal Crawford is that dude. Matt Barnes. Respect to Matt Barnes, but
exactly, Matt Barnes.
He's solid. He's solid.
Yeah,
I'm
but that's all it takes. You just got to be solid and on point.
No, you gotta have. To me, I feel
Iman Shumpert proved that all you got to do is be solid and be on point.
Yeah, but he also had Kyrie and LeBron James.
Matt Barnes had Kobe.
Bro, we went from
exactly.
we talking about LeBron, who's the second greatest player of all time. We're talking about Kobe, who's the top 10 greatest player of all time, and then we're talking about Chris Paul and Blake Griffin.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Now, like I said, I like Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin is a good player. Mm-hmm. He is somebody who, in my opinion, is going to be. He's in the Hall of Good. You know what I mean? He's in the Hall of Good. He's not in the Hall of Fame. And so I just think that even though that Clippers team was so exciting, it was Lob City. We saw with both DeAndre, but DeAndre was a liability, and Blake Griffin during the time didn't really have a shot. And we're talking about the playoffs,
Blake Griffin didn't discover his shot until left.
Later, until when he was a Piston.
Yeah, he was a Piston,
and then he quit. Let's just be honest. He quit. He didn't want to be there. He didn't dunk for 2 years. And then all of a sudden, when he joined the Brooklyn Nets, he starts dunking. How do you think that makes the Detroit Pistons feel? Man,
does it matter? Like,
it
doesn't matter.
It matters no more. But they look at it, they say, man, I cannot believe this man can dunk. We didn't even know this man. We thought this man was finished. And now he's doing his thing. But
they stupid for trading him to a team in the East anyway.
Yeah, but they just wanted to get rid of him because Blake, just like Houston. No. Houston wanted to get rid of James Harden because James Harden
wanted to leave.
But no, I'm saying, but Blake, I feel like was in that same situation. Like when you look at when the Detroit Pistons played against Brooklyn, there was animosity. That's true, but they didn't think that Blake Griffin.
They almost did it to Tom Brady, but I mean he was in free agency. He went from New England to the Bucks.
Why we gotta look? Like I said, Blake Griffin is good, but why are we comparing him to the greatest of all time? I don't understand. But respect to Blake Griffin, but I'm just gonna say that. But I just think the Brooklyn Nets. We talking about Chris Paul. Chris Paul, to me, this is the first time where he actually has an opportunity to make history.
And he's also supposed to be coming back.
He's coming back game 3.
Yeah, game 3.
And to be honest with you, I said in another podcast, Conversations in Sports. Shout out to Alex Hickman. We're starting that. It's going to be soon. Shout out to Tamani Johnson. But the one thing that I noticed about that, I was like, look, Paul George has got to play better, or they're going to get swept. Like they're going to get swept if they don't play better. Like what happened? What happened last night? Like, it was disturbing to watch. Like, I could not, like, I know people who are Phoenix Suns fans, they loved it. And I'm not saying that I was rooting against the Suns, but I just wanted to see Paul George really do his thing. He played terrible yesterday, to me. And I do know he scored 9 points in the fourth to help them get, but at the end of the day, he missed 2 free throws. The game was right there. The game was right there. I'm not saying he's pandemic P, but my man did a little choke.
When you gonna say that? When they 3-0 or 4-0 or get swept? When they 3-0 or get swept?
I'm saying they might get swept right now.
I mean, it's a possibility.
I say they might get swept.
Kawhi's coming back.
If Kawhi comes back, that's
not
gonna be
getting
different.
swept.
If Kawhi
probably
back,
gonna come back game 4. I can see it.
Game
Kawhi's
4,
coming back game 3.
Look, I hope
give Kawhi game 3.
I hope.
He was supposed to come back.
So you think tomorrow morning we gonna get that notification? Kawhi coming back tonight.
Tomorrow afternoon.
I hope so. I you know what? Okay, I'll say this. I do believe the Clippers can get it right because we obviously have seen it. We've seen it 0-2, but I think the only difference between the previous teams and this team is more athletic. You see, the other teams were skilled, but they were physical. They were more, you know what I'm saying? Like this team, they're long, they're athletic, and they're strong. Like,
but okay, so you could say that, right? But look at the last 2 games. Like they tired, bro. Like they tired.
That's true.
The Clippers are tired. The Suns are straight. Tonight we gonna see if the Hawks still got it in them because I think the Hawks still got a lot of guys in their team.
They're young,
but the Clippers are tired.
Crazy. It's these young teams.
Clippers are tired.
They're willing to play these games. Don't matter how long.
The Bucks are tired.
You know what I'm saying? Our age.
Honestly, that might be what wins. What if
championships? The least amount of games you play.
What's gonna win the championship is
Bucks. I mean, the Suns have only played 9 games.
Because the Suns still got gas.
Nah, 10.
Yeah. The Hawks still got gas.
Yeah,
3-2 or 4-2.
Yeah. But I just think personally, man, like this is the first time, as everyone knows, this is the first time where we saw, and the beauty about this playoffs is for the first time we're seeing 4 teams that we've never seen in this position before, ever. I mean, I was shout out to my father. We were basically comparing, greatest basketball legacies and all these types of things. The Lakers have, I believe, 18 championships. The Celtics have 17. The Chicago Bulls have 6, and everyone else. It's the Golden State Warriors have 4, and then Miami Heat have 3, and it's just 3-3-2. It's like
it's like that in baseball too.
It's like
Yankees with 27, everybody else under 10.
You know what? Well, I think the Boston's got. How many does Boston have? Boston has more.
Not many, no.
They won in the early. We got to count the ones. We're
counting early.
The early, and so I just think for me, I look at it and I'm like, yo, like this is the first time we're actually seeing like this is like for the regular people. This is what this championship represents to me.
Yeah, but that also sounds boring as hell.
No, it don't, bro. That's the beauty of it.
Because we was trying to. I guess we was trying to break down like which teams were actually making entertaining like finals. I mean,
what do you think?
The Hawks and
Clippers is boring.
You really think so?
Yes, Hawks Clippers is boring. That's gonna be boring.
Why would you say that's boring?
Clippers Bucks will probably be boring.
Yeah.
So, only one that's gonna make sense.
Hawks Suns.
Is Suns Bucks.
I think
Suns,
Hawks and Suns to me would be very exciting. Trae Young versus Chris Paul
and D-Book, yeah.
You know what I'm
saying? Or that one.
That one would be really
Hawks Suns will be interesting.
You know what I'm saying? Because to me, it's like you got a young AI, and I know I said that. But he's a young AI who can pass the ball. To me, I mean, he's just lights out. He's incredible, and
Devin Booker is a young Kobe.
He ain't a young Kobe. He a young Devin Booker. See, we gotta stop with these. Oh, he's the next Jordan. He's the next Kobe. Man, let Devin Book be Devin Book. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, come on, man. Everybody trying to compare him to old people. Let him just be him. Stephen A. Shout out to Stephen A. But my man always. He be doing. I be like, man, come on, bro. He's Kobe. What's his name is the greatest jazz player? Donovan Mitchell. He's the greatest jazz player, and Kevin Durant's the greatest player in New York basketball history. Like, bro, I don't understand it. But we gotta talk about since we talk about the Hawks, we gotta talk about the Philadelphia 76ers, which I actually picked them to win Game 6. I didn't pick them to win the series because I didn't know who was going to win the series. Okay? To me, that was a tough matchup only because Philly didn't put the gas they didn't put their foot on the pedal. They put their foot on the brakes. That's what we saw. And
that's what we saw about 4 games out of that whole series.
4 games. And to be honest with you, everybody deserves the blame. I know everybody say, Ben Simmons. Look, Ben Simmons is obviously in his head. All right, the young man, 24 years old. I mean, when you think about it, right? I mean, you have the lights like that on you, and you can't shoot. Like, not in front of all those. You have to.
You can dunk though.
Yeah, I know. Like that was silly.
And Trae Young is guarding you,
or lay it up.
That was Shaqtin' a Fool moment. I'm not gonna lie, that was Shaqtin' a Fool. Okay, but this is my thing, right? When Joel Embiid said, "Oh, what was a play that cost the game?" He said, "Oh, I think it was when he was deflected," because we know it ended the game. You know what ended the game? When Joel Embiid tried to be like Kevin Durant, turn around and let Gallinari steal the ball and go for a dunk, and then you gonna blame Ben Simmons, and you the reason why it became a 4 possession ball game?
Yeah.
Come on, man, it's your fault. Look, it's your fault y'all lost the game.
At the same time,
it's the whole team. Ben Simmons, gets a good percentage, like 50%.
We can't forget about Tobias Harris.
Oh yeah, he messed up game 6, bro.
6 and 7.
Well, he scored. He had a decent game in Game 7. He had a decent game, but look,
that meant nothing.
You know what I think?
When it came down to the wire,
and
nobody was looking for him to score.
You know why, Al? Because the 76ers aren't built to win championships. Straight up. Look, obviously they're not. Obviously they're not. They're not built to win championships.
I don't know.
They're not. That's why they gotta break it.
It looks good on paper.
Does it? Look.
Ben Simmons.
They didn't have. Look.
Seth Curry.
Danny Green was hurt.
Good on paper.
Okay. Danny Green was hurt. Okay.
Oh yeah, they didn't have Danny Green.
We counting Danny Green?
Yes, we're counting Danny Green.
Danny
He's a
Green,
champion.
Okay, for the record,
3 times.
I do know that Danny Record has had has had games where he's had poor shooting.
Yeah.
But he also has had games where he's had excellent shooting in the playoffs. Okay, in those pressure situations, okay, I believe that he does better with the 76ers than he would do on a LeBron team, only because I think when you play with LeBron, there's a little extra pressure. There's a little extra pressure when you play with LeBron than when you play with
every time.
I get it, but it's not always the same thing. It's like playing with Michael Jordan as your teammate. You watching him. It's like what Kwame said, man. You watching him. He's one of your favorite players, and then all of a sudden,
yeah, they coming at you.
Yeah, they coming at you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, what in the world? Well, you know, it's different, and so I just think from that aspect, I think Danny Green would have done better. But to me, the problem with the Sixers is they just didn't have enough scoring. Y'all know that Ben Simmons can't shoot in the outside 15 feet. He just can't.
Outside that painted area.
You know what I'm saying?
We're just
like,
gonna say that.
well, I mean, I would say this outside from. So I think it's like from 8 to 16 feet during the regular season. He did shoot 50%, but that's from 8 to 16. So 50%. But within the 5 feet range,
outliers in there.
It was 6. He shot 66% from the field within the 5 feet radius. You know what I mean? So the problem is this whole experiment, the process needs to go. There needs to be a huge trade that happens, okay? And everybody talks about C.J. McCollum, and people talked about sending him to the Minnesota Timberwolves. No. None of those teams work.
He's gonna no, but that's what I'm saying.
None of those teams work.
Why, as a Philadelphia organization, would you send him to another team that you're going to have to face to get to the playoffs?
Look, they don't care. I mean, at the end of the day, you trade your opposition. You trade your opposition because you want to win.
The opposition that you don't see a lot.
Because look,
they do the same thing in football.
For the record, they weren't. Well, I think it's different. It would be different if they were in the same division.
They are.
They're in the same
They're
division?
both East.
You said what? No, same division. It's kind
Oh,
of.
you're talking about football.
No, in sports. So it's like you have different divisions in the Eastern Conference. You get what I'm saying?
In NBA East.
Yeah. So there's the NBA, and so you have just like in football, there's different like it would be like the New England Patriots versus Dolphins. Like you're not. That's the same division.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not going to trade within that, but you might trade within the same conference. You get what I'm saying? But what I would just say is I honestly think a good trade for, and you're gonna laugh at this, but I think this is good. I think you trade Ben Simmons, and I think I wrote it down. Let me see.
Yeah. If anything, you got to get Ben Simmons out.
Get him out of there.
You trade Ben Simmons,
or you could be some real dogs and send my man Joel Embiid to Boston for some pieces and some picks.
You trade Ben Simmons and George Hill for Mike Conley and Bojan Bogdanovic. You trade him to the Utah Jazz. Why? Why do you do that? Why do you do that? I tell you why.
You said Mike Conley and who?
And Bogdanovic. He's a shooter. Bogdanovic.
For who?
For Ben Simmons and George Hill. The reason why I say
George Hill doesn't even measure up to Bogdanovic. Though.
He doesn't. He doesn't. But
and Mike Conley does.
But I'm betting.
Those both sound like throwaway.
Yeah.
But I'm betting that Ben Simmons can do a lot of damage in Utah, and Mike Conley can be that facilitator. Because all the 76ers need is somebody who can shoot. So you just bring in Mike Conley, then you bring in. They have shooters in Philly, right? They have a couple of shooters. You have
Got
spacing.
Seth.
He's not, and Mike Conley, he's not going to be in the paint like Ben Simmons was in the paint. Whereas in Utah, okay, you got Rudy Gobert, who's not an offensive player at all, so he's going to move out the way. So what I'm saying is you allow Ben Simmons to create, pass the ball down, pass the ball to shooters, as well as going inside. And then on the defensive side, check this out. You got, so he goes from the 1 to the 4. So he plays the 1 position on offense, then the 4 position as a defender. So it's between Rudy Gobert and Ben Simmons as a center power forward. So what happened with the Los Angeles Clippers doesn't happen. So when when they make those switches, Ben Simmons can guard those guards. So when they make those switches, that's not going to happen. So I'm saying you got great defense with Ben Simmons.
So you don't like the mismatch that Ben Simmons creates on defense?
Look, I'm saying Ben Simmons on defense with the 4 and 5 is better
than him guarding the 1 through 3.
Well, what I'm saying is that the reason why I would have him guard the 4 is because not because he can't be that guy, but more so based off switches. Okay, especially during those playoff situations. So it's more so he can guard whoever he wants to guard. Right. But in playoff situations, when Rudy Gobert is exposed, you have somebody there who's literally in the same paint area that can switch off of and then go to the big man. Not saying that Ben Simmons can. We know I want Ben Simmons to guard the guard. What happened in Utah can never happen again. That's why Ben Simmons is so great because he comes in, he switches with Rudy. Rudy goes back to the other guy. He comes in, guards the guard. He's much quicker. He's much faster, and he's agile. And I think it will be a problem there. I think it will be a matchup nightmare. Whereas in Philly, you have Mike Conley, who's a leader. One of the issues with the 76ers is they don't have leadership. You know, in my opinion, they don't. You bring in Mike Conley in, who is an experienced veteran, who's a good man, good family man, or whatever. He's going to be somebody who's a leader, a voice of the team. I believe it helps Philly greatly. I believe that might be the trade that makes both teams good. Now, I know you say it might be a wash, but I think for a good time period, especially for Utah, I'm not going to lie, it would be better for Utah, but I think with the Philadelphia 76ers, they want it now. Mm-hmm. They were losing on purpose for years. Straight trash, garbage, booty cheeks. They were straight like nobody. Who would want to watch the Philadelphia 76ers?
I seen a tweet that say 76ers been saying trust the process for 10 years.
For 10 years. For 10 years, bro.
It's been a good minute.
It's been a good minute. It's been a great minute.
All right, so do you think that
from when Ben Simmons got hurt in his rookie year?
Right.
That's been the entire process.
Do you think they gonna get rid of Doc Rivers?
You know, the thing about Doc Rivers, right? And, you know, he's a good coach. But
I believe so.
The issue with Doc Rivers, and Doc Rivers has kind of escaped criticism. And my thing with Doc Rivers is, Doc Rivers, he's like when Mike Tomlin first got hired by the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? Mm-hmm. When Mike Tomlin got hired by the Pittsburgh Steelers, they already were a championship team. When he was with
Steve Kerr with the Warriors.
Exactly. So here, check me out. So he was hired as a Boston Celtics head coach in 2004 with Paul Pierce. Now, Paul Pierce, we all know, is a monster. He's a savage, one of the best players of all time. Mm-hmm. During that time span, I think it was from 2004 to 2007, they had one of the worst records in NBA history. They were straight trash, straight garbage. They literally went when Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. So Kevin Garnett signed, and then Ray Allen. Ray Allen was signed, and then Kevin Garnett was traded. Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. They went from 17 wins, I believe, 17 wins to winning the championship. That was the biggest turnaround in NBA history. Right. But you know why? Not because of Doc Rivers, but because they had 3 Hall of Famers and 1 potential Hall of Famer in Rajon Rondo. That's why. And then what happened? He leaves the Celtics after they get, let's just be honest, washed up. Even respect to Kevin Garnett, respect to Paul Pierce.
They didn't even wash. They just ran into LeBron in Miami.
They were washed.
They were a little bit washed
because they were beating LeBron. They were beating LeBron.
Exactly.
And then LeBron went to the Heat, but the Heat just were younger. They were better, more athletic. That's what beat the Celtics because they were older. So they were washed with all due respect because KG, third greatest power forward of all time. But anyway, then he went to the Clippers. We see what was Clippers. What was the Clippers? Lob City, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Jamal Crawford, Matt Barnes.
Mm-hmm. Telling you, bro.
So like that was an energizing regular season can't miss team, right? So that's why Doc Rivers, he was that guy. He said, "Yo, we got to see them play." And then what happens with the Clippers? They fall apart, and we see Doc Rivers. They tried to work it out. He became president of basketball operations, but they were losing. So he got fired for 2 positions, not 1. Which that's tough. He got fired for 2 positions. That's terrible.
Hey, bro, they love taking stuff away from black men.
I get it. But look, man, my man literally went, and I think it's like this for every team. But I just think that there are certain coaches that can build teams from the ground up. And there's certain coaches that need great talent. Okay? NBA to win championships, and they need it right then. It needs to be
So what do you
ready-made.
think the 76ers are going to do?
What I'm saying is that for Doc Rivers to win championships, it can't be with teams that are building because the kids are not ready to win. He needs to be with people who knows how to win.
Wouldn't that be every coach though?
Exactly. That's my point. That's my point. My point is Doc Rivers doesn't do enough. Doc Rivers doesn't build.
They can't hear him out there.
You know what I'm saying? Like they don't. Okay, literally in L.A. They turned him off in L.A. They stopped listening to Doc Rivers. It's the Hall of Fame coach. He won with the Boston Celtics. Everybody, look, I'm a Laker fan, and I even liked the Celtics that year. Mm-hmm. You know, that's crazy. Like, I was like, man, they got 5 brothers on the team.
Everything they was doing was clicking.
Like, everything was amazing.
That was like when I really got into basketball.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what they represented to me was just black excellence. You know what I'm saying? And
coming out of Boston.
Who would have thought? But, shout out to Boston, that new addition, Bobby Brown, all them brothers. You know what I'm saying? Shout out. But look, that's what they were, and I feel like Doc Rivers, to me, the only way Doc Rivers, as it shows right now throughout his track record, is he needs to win right now with players who are ready to win right now for championships. Right. If it's not, he's gonna fail. That's what happened. Look at his record. The man is 6 of 9 in Game 7s. That's the most in NBA history, and it's not 9 of 6. Yeah. It's 6 of 9. That's what I gotta say. You know what I mean? Like Doc Rivers, look, respect to the brother, but look, he got to get it right.
He got to drink some tea.
He got to drink something because he got to make them in-game adjustments. I'm serious. Something's got to. So what Doc did was Doc needs to look at the drawing board. I feel like they do need to. So I look at it 2 ways. You either trade Ben Simmons, or what happens is Ben Simmons is a super fan of LeBron. Right? I mean, he's 24 years old. We all were really young when LeBron first entered the league. I mean, he was a guy like Jordan. Not like Jordan in terms of his play, but how big he was, right? And what LeBron represented. Mm-hmm. And everybody saw what LeBron James did when he made the decision. Everybody, I mean, we're talking about a guy who everybody loved in Cleveland. Oh, he's the underdog. Right. Or he's the guy who, and then he makes that decision on national TV, I'm going to be Miami Heat. They were burning his jersey. The owner wrote a scathing letter that sounded like a slave, like LeBron was a runaway slave. Boy, you better, what you doing? You run away from master. All right, let me be quiet. But look, all I'm gonna say is that LeBron James went on a revenge tour. The man played angry. Now they didn't win that year. But LeBron played with
Dallas has some shooters.
Dallas, well, actually, the reason why they lost was because LeBron choked. Let's just be honest. But LeBron played that year with so much reckless abandon that you had to recognize his greatness. Mm-hmm. And the one game that I can think about, because I was doing some research on Ben Simmons, right? His play, because I'm like, man, everybody, they're dogging out Ben Simmons. They're saying he's trash. They're saying he's done, and he's only 24 years old. I'm like, look, just go into your bag. When he found out that Rudy Gobert was the guy who was going to run away with the Defensive Player of the Year award, you know what he did? He said, oh, heck no. He dropped 40 on him. He dropped 40 on Rudy Gobert. You know what? I'm telling Ben Simmons, if I were close to Ben Simmons, because if I would just say, look, man, play angry. Play like LeBron. You a LeBron fan, study what LeBron James did. Study the greats. That's what makes great people great. They study the greats. So you go on that revenge tour. You go to a team that makes you feel like because Philly, they're done with Ben Simmons. Yeah. Philly's done. Yeah, they said, man, bunk you. Bunk. Oh, they ain't saying bunk you. They saying the other word.
Nah, he's definitely going somewhere else.
He's definitely going somewhere else. And Doc, who is, like you said, a Hall of Fame coach, that's why he shouldn't have said what he said, because he kind of took away some of that trade value when he asked him, yo, is he a championship player?
Nah.
Bro, no.
He's still
it's psychology, bro.
But nah, I mean, I don't think.
Hear me out. Hear what I'm saying.
I see what you're saying, but you gotta think about it. Right after the game, like ain't no time to be all, yeah, like you know what I'm saying, all happy. No, like he gotta hear it first. Like you know what I'm saying. Like it's the end of the game. We just lost it. And he didn't say like, nah, the nigga sucks. We don't need him no more. Nah, he was just like, I don't know if he's capable of being
on a
the best.
championship
Yeah,
team.
the best right now. That's all he says. I don't know. Now,
to be honest with you, right? If Doc Rivers stays, because he was a former, it would make more sense if he was just the head coach before. This man was a president of basketball operations, so he's got to think about it differently than a regular basketball coach. All right, he's been in higher up. He's been in administration. I ain't gonna give him that kind of credit. I'm giving him the kind of credit that says, "Hey, look, he knows." His head is like, okay, if I stay here, I need to make sure that I raise Ben Simmons. Like, if it's possible, which it is, because you can say if you were to say the right words, there's some kind of sucker. There's some kind of sucker that would say, okay, well, wait a minute, it was just. He was just in his head. All you got to do is work for Ben Simmons. And I believe that Ben Simmons can still be a good player. I just don't think that it's the right fit in Philadelphia. If he would have just said, oh, man, yeah, I believe that Ben Simmons is a championship-level player. I just think it just takes time to win. Because all the great players in NBA history, there's very few NBA players that won championships right off the gate.
Norris Cole.
No, Magic Johnson. Not Norris Cole. I know who you're talking about. Shout out to Norris Cole. He's a good player. He's solid. But Magic Johnson.
It's that LeBron effect.
Yeah.
Look, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Mario Chalmers.
The only person who definitely not.
James Jones.
Hey, shout out to James Jones. He was executive of the year.
Shout out to James Jones.
But I would say this. Mario Chalmers, look, the people need to put some respect on that because he was a little brother. Side note, he was a little brother on that team. But he put them when he was in Kansas. He beat Derrick Rose team in that. He hit the game winner. That's clutch.
It is.
That's clutch. I remember that. I look when Derrick Rose was in his prime doing his thing, bro. No, I honestly did not think that Kansas was going to beat that team. Man, I didn't think they were going to beat Memphis. But he made that shot. That's clutch. That's something exceptional. But I just think, man, very few NBA teams, and Doc Rivers could have said, man, he's like, look, it just takes time to win. Shaq went through it. Giannis went through it. Like, very few teams won NBA championships right after. Yeah. Exactly. And so I just think that once he learns how to win, like even LeBron
went through it. Yeah.
LeBron
had to go.
Was swept in the finals.
LeBron had to wait his turn. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know what I'm saying? So like Ben Simmons just gotta wait his turn. He's 24 years old. Yeah. Like y'all need to give him some time. Like we act like these.
He my age.
To me, exactly. He's 24 years old.
Okay, but
he's paid millions of dollars.
No. Because I seen what Dwight Howard said, and yeah, he's 24 years old. But okay, this is how I see it, and I could have the wrong idea of this, right? Okay. But you got these players that's been playing basketball all their life, and now you get to the 24-year-old part, and he was the number 1 draft pick. He was doing it in college, you know what I'm saying? So apparently he did something right. So like that's where I'm coming from. Yeah. Like don't say now he's 24 and he's just a little out of it. No, like he did something right. He got here before.
Yeah, I think I get where you're coming from, right?
Even then when he came out of college, he kind of had that, I don't want to say Kyrie effect because Kyrie only played 10 games in college.
Yeah, I think he played 8.
It's like 10 games in college. Still came out first round draft pick. Played the whole first year. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ben Simmons kind of did the opposite.
He played the whole year.
He didn't play. He played his whole college career.
He played his freshman year.
Yeah, freshman year of college. That's what I meant to say. My fault. Yeah, but then drafted first and gets hurt.
Gets hurt right
out of the whole
foot.
First year.
Yeah.
Wins rookie of the year the next year.
3-time All-Star.
3-time All-Star, yeah. So, yeah, that's literally all three of his years. He's been an All-Star Rookie of the Year, top-tier player.
So, yeah, you can't say he's 24 and just a little starstruck or light-struck. No.
Look, you can't. Okay, first off, there's a difference between.
Yeah, not to mention that he did just get beat out by what? Trae Young's what, 22, 23?
But for the record.
John Collins,
right?
what, 22, 23?
For the record, okay, when Ben Simmons was guarding Trae Young, he was shooting 32% from the three and 39% from the field when Ben Simmons was guarding him. So it's not like Ben Simmons was.
Well, then how the hell did Trae Young average 28?
Because
in that series,
I'm gonna tell you why. Because they do the switches, and sometimes Ben Simmons doesn't guard him. When you make the switches, sometimes Ben Simmons doesn't guard him. And the last game, Trae Young wasn't having it. It was Kurt Herster, I believe.
Kevin Huerter.
Kevin Huerter.
21, 22 years old.
27 points. Like, look, I just think that there's a lot of pressure.
No excuse. It's no excuse.
Look, like I said, excuse. Every NBA player that's great goes through it. There's very few. Magic Johnson is a perfect example of somebody who just won right out. He was the NBA's golden boy.
Right.
He was. But very few people are Magic Johnson.
But Tim, me, you, nor Lamont was there to witness Magic Johnson. Like, we were witnessing Ben Simmons right now.
Yeah, man.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Ben Simmons is great.
I'm not saying
what we know about Magic Johnson is what we heard, seen, and like the highlights. We didn't see none of his bad games. We don't know none of the bad stuff. Like,
okay,
we can't refer to Magic Johnson. Like,
I think we can because of history. I think you definitely can.
No, because when Ben Simmons' career is over, nobody's going to talk about how he just choked when he was 24 years old.
Actually, they will. They will, because they bring it up with LeBron. They say LeBron lost in 2006. He got swept. Okay, they talk about LeBron, the fact that he was how many? He's won 4 championships. Okay, he's went to the finals 9 times. All right, that's a lot of L's. People gonna bring that up.
Yeah,
they say, look, you call him the GOAT, and he bring a lot of L's. I'm like, look, let's be honest. Look, how many teams create super teams? Because that's the argument. That's my argument going to be. Not saying that LeBron's the GOAT, just saying, hey, look, there were multiple teams that were created in response to LeBron James. Okay? 2, LeBron James' overall body of work, the fact that he can defend 4 positions on the floor, sometimes 5, because the centers ain't ish. If it was Shaq, he couldn't guard him straight up. But the guards are different, so he could guard all 5 at one point. Then you've got a guy who can pass, and it's a great offensive scorer. He's a pass-first guy who could be a score-first guy. Very few people are pass-first and could be scorers. LeBron chooses to be that way, okay? So, like, and then if he had the Michael Jordan mindset, he'd be the greatest. Like, physically gifted, like, smooth with a great passer, became a great shooter. Became a good shooter. Yeah. I wouldn't say became great. But look, I just say it just takes time, and that's really my last point of the sports cycle is really, brothers, that it takes time for greatness. I understand your point, right, about how like they spent their whole life doing this, but I actually think that's what can make it tough. You spend your whole life, right, wanting to be at a certain level, and sometimes you get in your own head. Sometimes you feel like the moment is too big for you. But in those losses, there are lessons to be learned, right? And in those lessons that you learn, you get better. That's why we see NBA players in their 30s. They're sometimes better than what they were in their 20s because they mentally know what it's like to take L's. Just like grown men in our 20s, we make a bunch of mistakes. But by our 30s, because of the mistakes that we made, because of the lessons we learned, we move different. We think differently. You know what I mean? And because of that, that's why I believe you can't give up on Ben Simmons.
No, I understand that. I mean, you right. You can't give up on him because he's in the league and he got it. And we gonna see. He still got a lot left. But it's just like this one. It was his time. Like it was really his time to shine. Like he may not get a moment like this again.
This moment right here.
Because after this, they might cut. Like after this moment, like let's say he just don't step up next year or something like that. After that, he's really gonna be classified as a scrub. Then he's gonna be Ben Simmons of the Chicago Bulls or Ben Simmons of the just a freaking of a sucky team.
Bulls, that's not a bad.
But you know what I'm saying. But he's gonna get on a team that just nobody's gonna respect or. You know what I'm saying?
I get where you're coming from, but I just believe that you have to take those losses that you learn early in life and move differently. And I believe that. And look, I'm not saying that Ben Simmons doesn't have a lot to work on. He's got a lot to work on. Like this moment, for the first time in his whole career, he's getting a certain type of treatment that he's never received before.
Right.
Like we all knew that Ben Simmons couldn't shoot, and people were critical of that.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that all the news stations are talking about it.
So now next year he has to step up.
They're digging up his past. Like, you know what I mean? Like the fact, like there's a situation with his sister and his brother, and I'm not gonna go into that. But what I'm gonna say is, like, there's a lot of stuff happening within a short period of time, and I would just say that great players, great people, use their pain to motivate them for better. Right. And I believe that Ben Simmons can do that. I believe in Ben Simmons. I'm saying that right now. I believe in Ben Simmons. And whether they trade him or not, he's got to be in a position where people believe in him. Because if they do, I believe that Ben Simmons can be a superstar in this league. Thank y'all for listening to the Sports Cycle. I want to thank my brothers, High and Tight, Tyron and Lamont. Thank you, brothers, again. See y'all next time.